All right, we are in session. I don't see any changes to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Our first item is indigent business.
Chantel Laulu with Indigent Services. The first two cases that I have for you were previously placed in suspension. After further investigation, it does appear that Bannock County is the last resource for payment of these requests. So the recommendation is approval of case number 2016-0300 and case number 2017-0087.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion. Sorry. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve case 201-60300, 201-70087. Sorry, Chair.
That's okay.
I was trying to get this signed, and I was like, oh, wait.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The next cases that I have for you were previously placed in suspension. After further investigation, it does appear that they do not meet criteria to be eligible for assistance through the indigent program. Our recommendation is a denial pursuant to Idaho Code 31350225 and a denial of these cases. Case number 2015-0229, 2017-0230, 2018-0155, and 2018-0162.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny case numbers 2015-0229, 2017-0230, 2018-0155, 2018-0162.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. A lot of signatures today.
Yes, there are.
It's hilarious.
Did you get the money?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just one of those, yeah.
Thank you.
I was like, should we have him stand up?
you.
Do you really want to fight?
All right, next we have a proclamation. Which one of you want to read it?
I'll do it.
I'll just approve the proclamation as presented in the packet.
You want to do it that way?
I'm good with that.
We can do that hand signature.
Actually, this is about Sergeant Johnson.
Yeah, no, read that one. That's a good one. That's good. I have his book.
Whereas James Edmund Johnson was born in Pocatello in 1926, and whereas James joined the United States Marine Corps upon graduation from high school and was sent to fight in the Pacific Theater of Operations during World War II, specifically seeing action at Pelealu and Okinawa, and whereas on December 2nd, 1950, Sergeant Johnson's courage and selfless actions earned him the Congressional Medal of Honor, and whereas during the Battle of the Chosin River and on that December day, Sergeant Johnson did not hesitate to take charge of his platoon in the absence of their leader, and in order to displace his platoon, put himself in an extremely hazardous position in order to provide covering fire, and was last seen wounded but still fighting enemy troops. And whereas Sergeant Johnson was listed as missing in action after December 2nd, 1950, and was declared killed in action, body not recovered as of November 2nd, 1953. And whereas Sergeant Johnson's heroic actions that day saved the lives of the men in his platoon and earned him the United States of America's highest military honor for personal acts of valor above and beyond the call of duty. And whereas Sergeant Johnson's actions have been forgotten for far too long, and because our city, our country, our state, and our nation owe much to Sergeant Johnson, and wish to remember and honor his brave actions and selfless service to his platoon and country. Now, therefore, we, the undersigned, do hereby proclaim November 2nd, 2022, to be Sergeant James Edmund Johnson Day in Pocatello, Chubbuck, and Bannock County, and urge our citizens to remember and recognize a true American hero for his bravery and for his ultimate sacrifice. Commissioner Moser, Commissioner Huff, and Commissioner Tubby. That one's worth reading.
Yeah, that's one. There's a historical book that talks about it. still don't think they've recovered his remains.
Look. All right. Time is it? All right, Mike, you're up.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I got here just in time. I thought I had an extra minute or two.
We roll.
Absolutely.
Whenever you're behind Chantel, she usually gets in and gets out and gets done fast, so.
She knows her business.
You better be here if you're behind her.
Except for today's pregnant pause, we're usually pretty fast with that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Commissioners, I'm here to, Mike Jaglowski, Bannock County Engineer. I am here to offer a recommended solution for the open space issue that we've been working through here over the last probably 8 weeks or so on that. And so what I'd like to do is I sent an email out on June 8th, Wednesday, June 8th. I have that included in here. And I can go through that step by step, or if you have questions, then I can answer those. And it's really your preference, gentlemen.
Comments, questions?
I turn to Terrell if he's got anything.
Hold on one second. I'm having a commissioners meeting agenda day on my packet. There it goes.
It was slow on mine as well.
It's having all sorts of problems today.
So, just real quick, Mike, on the grandfathering of all the subdivisions prior to April, was it April 2nd?
21st.
April 21st,
21.
yeah. There would be no change to them. They would go forward as approved or presented at that point in time, or as submitted at that point in time.
That's correct. However, to recognize some of the legal counsel's concern, we would want to treat the open space that is in individual lots as close to a lot as we can. And what would occur is that the lot would look the same, the individual lot would look the same, and the open space would have a meets and bounds description around it and would include the Bannock County restrictions specifically on that. So there would be not one change, but there would be one addition so that we would approach where the open space separate lot portion of the ordinance, we would approach that closer to a separate lot. Does that make sense?
Okay, so if we do that, we separate them as separate lots, open lots, then that would double the size of lots in a subdivision?
No, not should we grandfather. If we choose to grandfather, we would still have one deed and one lot. However, one lot would be described as, for example, Lot 4, Block 2, and it would specifically have a meets and bounds around the open space portion of that lot, a surveying legal boundary.
Can that
around
lot cross
portion
a
of the lot.
road?
What's that?
Can that lot cross a road?
If it's an existing road, I
No,
believe,
if it's a new road.
if it's a new road,
The problem I'm reading is I went home and I read a lot through this and started looking at this. And there's some of the stuff in the meets and bounds, and when you start looking at when it's described only into one space, I think there's a lot of open to interpretation. To say that we had a 40-acre spot, you'd just have to put one solid 20-acre spot into open space, and the rest could be lots. I'm getting some of that of some conversations that, I've had some emails from people that have maybe started thinking about doing that, and that sometimes is what they're getting the interpretation of. And the open space designation, that one lot can be a 5-foot strip that runs 10,000 feet, as long as you have your acreage. It can run around lots. It could go across lots. the problem in our ordinance is our ordinance says there's some zoning things that you can do. It can give rights of way, it can give egress. It doesn't specifically mention roads. The problem is, especially if it's a private driveway or private thing and you're granting easement or access across an open space, as long as the open space meets the intent, I think that would be authorized. And I think sometimes we're starting to get caught up over the in some of these of the analysis of each one that we're looking at, that sometimes I think there might be a little bit of how do I say it? We're getting a little too more really hard black and white on these three, where these three, A, B, and C, are written to where, however, there is some movement left and right in each one of those to make sure, because not every parcel and subdivision in the county is the same. And so
Right.
I think we just need to make sure that we're not boxing ourselves in so hard that we're going to create another problem. Does that make sense with our restrictions and some of that? I just want to be careful with that.
That is absolutely correct. I agree. Reading the ordinance, it does, because it is so flexible, we have, and uses words, this is what's run us into this issue on that. It uses words like treats. You know, treats is a behavioral type of word, how you treat your child when they're good and when they're bad. It's difficult to treat a piece of land like a separate lot. And so, should the grandfathering take place, then we are interpreting the ordinance as we have in the past, of the ones that have already been approved by Bannock County Planning and Development Council. We're moving those forward into final plat. However, one issue is that to get closer to what treats a separate lot, each individual lot, the buildable lot, will have its own open space, which is now the way that it's contained, described as a meets and bounds.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
And to go across roads, yes, that's how we've interpreted.
Yes, and I would make sure, because there's stuff like that because even when you're farming, because an open space requirement can be used for farming purposes. You're allowed to produce agriculture on open space. And so, and it's
With
very,
approval.
With approval, but it's there. Most ground that's farming and agriculture in type will usually have some type of agricultural easement or access for mechanical equipment or houses or other things that go across it. It's very common in our county. I mean, we see that all the time. That's actually why some of the times we get into is they didn't record it. It was just a handshake with Bob to go do that. And what I'm saying is it's very standard and customary to have an agricultural area that will have an easement or a road or stuff like that. And I've just seen this, we need to make sure that even though we're following A, B, and C, we cannot get very extremely rigid, because if you do, it's going to cause more you're going to have then all of a sudden you will never have another subdivision developed, because it will be so tight it'll be back to where it was. And that's what we've got to make sure that we're not getting too tight on this, because we want to make sure it's an A, B, or C 100%, but we just want to make sure that when we do this, that yes, we need some. It wouldn't even be a bad idea, and I thought about this the other night, is in those A, B, and C, is to maybe have a example diagram of what those are in the ordinance packet. I mean, I was reading an Army manual, and there's a diagram of how to do something, and I was like, sorry, Mississippi off order. Jason knows that.
That's a very good suggestion.
Jason, and I'm just saying.
No, and I think in the new ordinance, that's exactly the way that it works, and we could, you know,
I mean,
supply-
even just for these three as an appendix. I mean, just, hey, this is something that this is a general guidance that's approved by the board. This is something that can be added as an appendix fairly easy. I mean, it doesn't even need to be hey, this is what an A would look like, this is what a B would look like, and this is what a C would look like.
So there's a couple things, and I still go back, I'm not clear on if we're separating lots, we're still doubling the lots in a subdivision. If we're making, which means that when we do that, it increases the size, so then egress and stuff changes per the size of the subdivision, depending on how many lots are there, correct?
That's correct.
So are we creating more problem, because we already got the one up on the hill there that we've already had people come in, and it's gonna come again, correct? I think, I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't wanna create more problems
Yeah.
than we're solving, just because we wanna put a Band-Aid on this at this time.
So, Commissioner, let me address two things real quick. What Commissioner Tovey is talking about is the difference between a right-of-way, which is platted and given to the county and the public as right-of-way, and easements. Okay, I think we were referencing different things with respect to agriculture. Agriculture has easements. Easements are still, the property is still owned by the owner. The easement says something else can happen on that strip of property.
We're dealing with that regularly.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
strip
what
of, strip of property. So, you know, in a platted subdivision, which is what we're talking about right here, right now, the grandfathering portion of it really is one part of three. And we're taking, from that time, April 21st, past, all the approved would continue as status quo with one exception, which is just describing the open space within an individual lot. So you still have the same lot count, but the open space is described specifically inside of that deed, okay? Now, let me jump to the second part. Everything that is submitted from there forward would be an individual lot, and we would have the open space that again would be deed restricted and would be described, and we would add that to the lot. So the developer would sell two lots, you know, one would be the buildable portion, one would be the open space portion, and then that would.
But we're still increasing,
That's-
doubling.
Well, I wanted to finish the discussion about grandfathering before I got into that. And you're absolutely correct. That does have that. However, it's not a buildable lot. There is that piece.
But according to our ordinances, the size of that subdivision just doubled, which means that egress
Well, you're still,
has other requirements in another part of the ordinances that we're gonna have to that we're gonna create the same problem with, because like I say, we're dealing with that up there right now.
see, so the problem is right now is the way 401C reads, is that if you have 40 acres, 50% has to be used for open space. That's all there is to it. So you have to take 20 acres off roughly 20 acres off the plot. But then there's allowed that you can do, because you're doing an open space subdivision, you can go down to, Mike, it's 2.5, correct?
2.5 acre.
2.5. So you could go through and you could pick all these 2.5 acre parcels. The problem is that there's, the way some of these interpretations go and some of the stuff like that, it's not clear because it says in B, treats. Well,
Right.
okay, the problem is in the past, you could take, and there's people that would say, okay, I could take all this space out here and make this one lot. And I believe that that's okay and meets the intent. Well, the problem is that people are saying, well, no, you have to, if you have 40 acres, you have to just take this as open space off the table, and then you can only do it here. Well, then that limits you to very few, less than 50% lots, because you have to put roads and all this other stuff in. And that's what we're saying, is that if you're gonna meet the 50% thing here, and then when you start going into access ways and some of this other stuff, that section of the ordinance is even murkier, because it says you'll have two access ways in and out of a subdivision,
Depending on what size.
dependent on the size of the subdivision. But the problem with that statement is you would have every single subdivision in this county would be out of compliance then, because none of them are in compliance. So are we going back right now and gonna make the Wild Horse subdivision go put a new road in and send them a
But all
bill?
I'm saying is, just like
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
two that
totally.
started this,
Yep,
in the same meeting with the board, one got okayed and one didn't,
Yep.
because one person knew what the
The rules were.
rules were, and the other one didn't get complained on. So if we have people start coming and saying, you're not following the egress
Yep.
rules, we're opening up the same can of worms to me.
no, you're right, and the whole thing with the egress is really the definitions of primary, secondary, arterial. I mean, you start getting into some of these definitions of roads and what you're trying to do and how you're trying to get them coming in and out. That's where the problem is you have to have some. Are we doing it by a car count? Are we doing it by, because there's some of these subdivisions that,
So rather than grandfathering, I don't want to go to grandfathering.
I don't like that term.
I want to, those that are before the 21st of April, come to us on an individual basis and let's have a conversation about it, where you're at. And, because I don't want to just mass say everybody can do this.
Because I think there's,
And then those after the 21st, like you've said, A, B, and C.
well, and I think understanding like the interpretation of being able to cross a roadway, or to be able to incur the roadway into the open space, to be able to do some of these things, to be able to draw your open space into a single lot. The other problem I have is in our open space ordinance sorry, I'm in the wrong file. Hold on one second. When you start talking about your open space, it says in B specifically, this concept reminder that the developer may keep or elect to sell it. The rights of the open space are not forfeit by the owner of the division. And that's the thing that everybody wants to treat this open space, that yes, it's open for the public use, for public to walk across, for public to do whatever. You can't fence it out, you can't do whatever. But it's still the owner has rights to that property.
That's
whether
correct.
it's farmed on, whether easements and egress, and it lists
And
easements.
that's the other part. He has rights, but he has obligations.
Yes. He
That's
can't-
the part that
he
I
can't
want to make
fence it out.
sure.
And that's very clear that, yeah, you can't fence it
I don't
out.
want just some weed patches and back somebody.
Well, and that's the other thing
And that's what
too.
happens. That's what happens if it's not individually landowner owned. I
Well-
mean, there are places that are.
Contractor should have, has the obligation.
Well, and so that goes to your point, is if you have open space, it's great to be able, it's recommended that it's all in one big patch, but if you can't have it in one big patch, I think it's insane to say that you have to have, no matter what, 40 acres, you have to have 20 automatically in one section. I think it can be, does it have to be contiguous?
It says it should be, yes, it says that it has to be contiguous. It says that you have to have, it has to connect to other,
So here's another
Continuity.
question, and I'll ask the lawyer the same question at the same time. What's the definition of a lot? Can a lot in Bannock County be
Yeah.
contiguous? Does it have to be contiguous to be a lot or a parcel?
So the definition of a lot under our subdivision ordinance.
No,
is-
not in our ordinance.
Well, that's the one, that's the analysis.
No, I want to go to actual state statute then, because that would supersede our ordinance. What is the definition of a lot? Can a lot be a non-contiguous amount of property?
Well, the state statute would just kick us to our ordinance.
There's several of them that we have in our county that are cut into two by roadways that have a landowner that is the state.
By an easement or by an actual road?
By an actual road that is owned by the county or the state is cut a property in two. So
Right, and
there
that-
is a precedent set by us in the state that says that a roadway can cut a lot in two, and a lot does not need to be contiguous, because we do it all the time. And we've done it. And that's what I'm getting at, is there's these weird things here that I get that. How we address this, we want to make sure that we work with these people, but we've got to make sure that it's correct. We don't want weed
But
patches.
still, from April 21st, the date you
Yep.
said, we're A, B, or C.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Now, A, B, and C though, and I'll say,
Before that,
there is,
I think we're gonna have to look at them on an individual
Oh, no, no.
basis and where they're at.
there's a couple of them though, that as you get into it,
do?
the
Somebody comes in and meets us, what are we gonna do?
that's the problem.
Then we're gonna have to accept the blame for giving wrong
Well-
information and move forward.
The problem is you still have an issue that comes back to customary practice in the county that had been going on since before I came into office. That was the combination of the three, or how they did it. There were several of these that were done this way, and I still think that
But we can say that and make that decision on
Yeah.
each one individually.
we
This
have
was-
to
this was-
approve it. We have to approve it. They have to meet with us individually anyway when they come to us at final
For
plat.
the final.
Yes, at final plat, they're coming to us anyway. And we either have to accept it or not accept it at final plat. And if they meet the intent of open space, if they meet in this intent, which I can read through this.
What
and-
the intent was before the 21st and after the 21st.
I don't even think you necessarily have to have a before or after. You have to look at it, did they just meet the intent? And if they meet the
Right.
intent, they meet the intent.
But the
So-
intent is A, B, or C
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying.
after, and the intent before was a combination of
Yeah,
them. So there's a different intent.
well,
So may I interject? Commissioner Moser, you said that we gave them wrong information. We did not. We gave them, when I have developed prior to my employment in Bannock County, this interpretation held fast.
yeah, legal
Okay.
at that
Secondly-
point said this was okay.
Secondly, number two is that some way, somehow, the attorneys and the legal staff at that time said that this was okay. When I was hired, one of the first issues I had was to talk to our legal counsel about this specifically, and they said, this is how it works. I was given that information by the past Bannock County engineer and also by the planning staff, and I have that in this email here.
Yeah.
Okay? When Hal became planning director, this is something I asked him that we needed to discuss, and we did. And the legal staff at that time said, yes, this is the way that we do it. So did we give them wrong information? No, we did not. We gave them the information that was according to Bannock County legal staff at that time.
Well, and
Okay, and so the question came
That's
now.
why I asked, what are we going to do? Because everybody prior to that date has met the intent based on the information that we had. So that's why I go, why have a meet with us? Because they've
well,
already met the intent.
they still have to come meet with us for the final plat. Everybody has to come at that
Correct.
point. But
Correct.
other than that, I don't know if there's anything we can encourage to make sure that they are within the highest intent of the open space, A, B, and C, and make sure, that's, I think what we do is we
But what are we going to change at final plat when they come say, will you sign this? And we go, no.
So
sorry."
final plat, so this is the problem, at final plat, you have, people can come and petition that we don't approve final plat based upon this. And if there is a preponderance of an argument that's given to us about A, B, or C, or why it doesn't meet A, B, or C, and they make a valid argument or point saying, hey, because this open space doesn't meet these three, and is not a clear A, B, or C. That's the problem. If you have a clear A, B, or C, or can fit it into a clear A, B, or C, then their point is mute. But if they can make a clear argument of, hey, you guys, there is no clear A, B, or C here, and we ignore that, they can actually force that into court then, and we would be responsible for going back and correcting and redoing, and it would create a big problem.
Right.
And so the whole issue is if we can work with those landowners that are getting to final plat, a couple of them I think are real close to final plat, they may be, and I haven't looked at every single one of them, they may be real close. There may be a lot line, I had one individual that was talking about a subdivision that said, hey, I could move one lot line, I had a combination of the three, but if I move one lot line, I will then meet B. And it wasn't even, and I think they even kept the same lot count, but they just had to move and have some resurveying work done. They will meet that intention. So there's some of those things I think like that we just need to be mindful at final plat. The other thing though too is because we've had a change in direction, because we have, I was here for when Mike started this, and I remember one of them that actually fired this off, that was the first phase of Pidcock. That was actually the individual that showed up at final plat. That was the point that he was making, and that's where this discussion of the, and legal at the point and with prior planning and zoning staff said, yeah, hey, we think that this is okay because this is how it was meeting. Well, there's been some other things and interpretation of to remove us from that liability, which I don't blame legal from that liability. They're always going to keep you as far away from the flame as possible.
Not at all. I think our legal staff did what they feel is correct.
And that's fine. But the whole thing we just have to be mindful for is if that comes up, which it's a very real possibility, then we, especially if we didn't have some due diligence on the engineer and planning and zoning, mainly engineer and subdivision, to try and get that lot line moved, and then they come to planning, or for that final meeting, like Ernie said, as long as we have that intent and we feel good, I mean, we can sign anything we want at a plat, but we just have to be mindful that there could be legal repercussions. It could be pretty nasty coming out the backside. And that's all I'm saying with that. And as I've read through what Mike had, and I read through this, and I looked at it, and that's what I'm saying, is there's some key terms in here that I think we need to have defined right now. An appendix, like I said, of, hey, this is what an A would look like. This is a stick figure drawing because a Mississippi op order works best. This is what a B looks like. This is what a C looks like. Mike said it exactly, and these are words that drive me nuts, because it says in B, in B, it treats.
Yep.
What is treat?
I don't know.
I have no idea what treats is.
It's
I
it's
could
a
make B,
behavior.
and this was the argument that the legal team made last time. This is where it came from, is that B, treats, means the intent, means you generally are in the doing something kind of, well, that just painted a picture that's this wide. And that's what I'm saying is there's some of those things that we're gonna have to just go through and work on, because I don't know how you, I mean, there are words, the way this is written, it's very ambiguous.
Well, it says treats, and then also it says, but the developer can sell to someone else completely, right?
Right.
That part.
Right.
So.
And then they can use it for agricultural production.
Yeah. So, and Mr. Chair, I know you brought up saying look at each one individually. I don't know where everyone sits. Some may be at concept, some may be at preliminary plat, which usually the council meets with. So I don't know if the commission would want to give guidance to the council on these situations that are still there. So when it finally makes its way to the commission in the final plat, they're following
Well-
the guidance or not, but at least you'll see that.
Let's just put it this way. The 21st on is A, B, or C. Before that, we're gonna look at them anyway. We're gonna look at the final
Right.
plat. So
Well, that's what I'm
we'll
asking you.
go there.
So the ones before, if they're still at concept or preliminary plat, how does the commission want to handle that?
I would say that if somebody comes in when the board meets with them and they get confronted with conversations, then it's gonna come to us anyway, right?
Yep, for the final plat.
For the final plat. So the planning and zoning board will be looking at them earlier.
Yeah.
If they get a complaint, then we'll deal with them on
Right.
a one-on-one basis
Is this where we
as a
have the
complaint.
discussion of meeting
This
with
is,
the commissioners
this is where
first?
we've got to change this.
That's,
Well,
Is this
Because
is,
right now, it's to the
Yes.
council for preliminary and concept.
this is
So
where-
That's why I'm saying give them guidance,
Yeah.
and they can make their decision, and then it
this
moves
is,
to the commission.
this is where this bothers me in our board, because you're saying our board is giving approval for these. And then we go through at the very end and we approve the plat, and that's not right. The way this should work is the planning and zoning board makes recommendation of approval to be confirmed by the commissioners. That's what we need to move this step to, and I think that needs to be something like, in all haste, we need to have that rewritten and published. And how long do we have to have it published to amend the ordinance? 2 weeks?
We only have to publish it once, but we do twice.
Okay, so this is, and this is what I'm saying. This problem occurs because we have a planning and zoning board, which is, they're good. I appreciate what they do. They're volunteers. They work hard. But the problem is they make an approval, and it never gets seen by us until the very end. And what should happen is they should make recommendation either of an approval or a denial on that subdivision. And it should happen right after that, before any shovel in the ground, before any dirt, before anything happens, because then what happens is we can go in and say, there is a real problem here, or no, it does, or it doesn't. And all of those appeals and all of those things happen then at that point, before somebody goes and puts millions of dollars in the ground building a subdivision, and then we get to the end and we have a serious problem. That way, we've eliminated and protected the public, we've protected the county, and it makes it to where.
So, just to make sure I understand what you're talking about, the process, I'm a builder. I
Yep,
wanna
you're
do things.
you're doing a subdivision.
I submit my information to Mike, he sets me up to go meet with the planning and zoning council.
Yep.
They give me a red light, green light, or yellow light,
Let's say they give you a green light.
then it comes to us
For an approval.
Yep, we agree,
Go.
go forth and build.
Yes. And then at the very end, they come back and we approve the plat, sign the vellum, because they went out and inspected, made sure all the construction is done to what we told them to go do.
I like that, I was just worried that we would negate the planning and zoning council, but that.
No, all we're doing is, and that also would say you get a green light at that point. Say the pissed off neighbors, which there always are, want to file all their complaints. That does the administrative, the remedies then at that point. They have to come in at that point. Because what's happening is you get people, we had that one subdivision up on the hill where the guy waited until we were signing the vellum and started filing complaints that it didn't meet, because that's what our ordinance said. And so you had that subdivision up there that sat for, I think it sat for a month and a half while they went back and forth and had all these legal problems. And that's why I say, if that moves forward, that will clear up most of your problems altogether. And you could actually go forward right now, and any of them that are not into, approval phase,
They shouldn't be doing too much until they get that final plat signed off on anyways.
by us?
Yeah.
No, the problem is they have it, no, the way
can't.
it's done, the construction's done, and we sign it.
Right, but I'm saying
That's
is they
like
got
the one right
but
outside
they
of
got a
Lincoln.
plan, but I'm saying they got a plan for that too.
You look outside of Income right there.
Oh, no, no, they're done. They can't get the
They're building
vellum signed
roads
by
and
us
putting
unless
in power and they've done all
all
their
construction,
stuff.
everything's
Right.
done.
So,
Right.
so
No, I
one of
understand that,
the,
I'm saying, but on the risk for us, they're still taking the risk, we still gotta get this signed off by the commission.
Well, no,
When they go to
right,
final
right
plat.
now, the problem is we're signing it after it's all done. So we
Well,
have
that's what I-
directed them that you're gonna go spend like Gilbert Ranch out there.
Millions of dollars.
We've never even seen it,
Yeah.
and they're gonna sink $1 million plus into it. And then they're gonna come back to us and hope that we don't change our mind, and that's insane. We should have been
Yeah.
saying, hey,
Right, no, but what I'm
So-
saying is that's the risk, like they know,
Yeah.
like, how it is right now.
so commissioners, in our ordinance, it says that we have two options to approve a final plat. One is to bond for construction improvements.
Right.
And one is to complete construction improvements. We don't want to approve a final plat, excuse me, we don't want to approve a final plat until it's done, or else
Yep.
it will never get done.
Yep.
Right.
And we have examples of that throughout the
Yep.
county.
and I'm not saying that the commissioners are going to approve the final plat. Alls we're going to approve
Yeah,
is
okay.
the subdivision
The
concept.
concept.
That's
Okay.
it. Alls we're doing is confirming
Yeah.
upon the decision that planning and zoning has made to
Okay.
allow construction to move forward.
Kinda
You
like-
still
kinda
have
like
to
a-
come back.
That's what I was a little
Kinda like
confused
the
on. I know
rezone.
they're gonna put shovels
Yep.
in the ground,
Yep.
before then, but I was just saying that.
No,
that's
yeah,
what they
we're not
take, that
approving the
it's
final
not approved
plat.
until after it's
Alls
done.
we're doing, alls we're saying is that decision,
Yeah.
because if you have that administrative remedies there, that should eliminate all of your problems.
Right.
Okay, we need to.
Yeah, we can
move
move.
along.
Okay. For these, Mr. Chair, as I've read through this and what Mike had to say, and some of this other stuff, there are gonna be some individuals that are at plat. I think that we don't treat this as necessarily a problem where we have to stop or move forward. I think that what we do is we allow the process to continue for everything that's in the pipeline right now. It just needs to be brought to us. It just needs to come. Because the whole thing is if there's a problem with it, we'll have to address it when we sign the plat. There's a couple of them that I don't think they're gonna have a problem. I think there's a couple that we're gonna have to have a serious look at it.
But the deadline's the 21st.
Yep,
After the 21st, everything's A, B, and C.
Everything else should be that.
Everything before that follows the intent that was,
I would
At
ask,
that time.
I would ask for, Mike, draw me up an appendix of 3 A, B, and Cs. Literally, you hear Jason and me make fun of this. This is an Army thing.
Because it works.
It's a Mississippi op order. It is literally a stick in the dirt that you draw what you want. And you're given an example, because I think in that example, that also takes away some ambiguity, gives some possible scenarios, and then we could approve that appendix to be included with that. That would give you then some stuff to help maybe clear up the ambiguity here. And then I think we need to probably either have, like I said, that ordinance. Mr. Chair, if you'd like Brian and myself to do some, and get with Hal and Mike and do some
Yes.
ordinance stuff and try and get it back to us as fast as possible.
yes. Like I said, I just don't want to start agreeing to stuff that affects other ordinances
Yes.
down the line, so that we're in the same boat and talking about the same thing for 2 months.
Yes, I think we can get it done to where we could have an ordinance ready to come back by next, if we got working to have it come back for approval next Tuesday and get it published. And then we can come back, and if it works, and take public comment, then approve
You're
the
not going to
ordinance.
have it by next Tuesday.
I think I'll go write it myself, is what I'm gonna do.
Monday's a holiday, all I'm saying is Monday's a holiday.
Well, I have my
And you have
laptop sitting there.
BOE going on every day. So anyway.
Well, I don't need
As
to
quick as
sleep.
possible. As quick as possible.
I mean, seriously, if we could get this done before we get any more subdivision plots coming in, that's what we wanna do. Because this will take care of, I think,
Okay
all
with
of the
that?
problems.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
May I want to make sure that I'm clear, okay? From 421 past, status quo.
Let them move.
We move those through forward. I will schedule meetings between the Bannock County Commissioners and the developers so that you have a chance to look at that plat.
Well, no, it'll just be the vellum when it comes.
Okay, very good.
So one thing I would,
Same thing we've always done in the past, before that.
with those builders, any of those developers, if, as you look at that and review and you have question or you have anything that might be a little, you might want to get with those builders and look at it and see if there's anything to make sure that they have as good a case as possible of making sure they can fit into those if they can.
Okay.
Like I said, the one developer that was looking at doing a subdivision, he'd kind of already had some stuff sketched. He's waiting to go to planning and zoning, and he called me and said, "Hey, what do you think I should do?" And I said, "Make sure you fit." And he said, "I can move one lot line and I'll fit." And that's what I'm saying. If there's things that they can do to mitigate their liability, I would encourage them. And if you need to sit with them and help them understand that, I would really strongly ask that you help them mitigate that liability.
I've talked to everybody in the pipeline.
Okay.
I've talked to them individually. There are some solution paths, some of which are very expensive and some of which are moving one lot line.
Yes. So,
But the other, okay, so status quo afterwards, if it's specifically A, B, or C, and that's really how we, move forward. And post haste, we get the subdivision portion, or all of it, subdivision ordinance rewritten, to make sure that we have recommendation of approval, and then approval comes to you at concept phase.
Yep, approval
So
of
you see
concept
that,
and then move forward.
Because right
And
now.
you'll work through that with
yeah,
Commissioner
I'll
Selby
come out and we'll
legal.
sit down and we'll go through
Okay,
that.
all right.
I might have to come out after hours or before or out on lunch or something, but I'll text you and we'll figure out a time and we can go sit down and we can go through it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
Okay, everybody good?
Thank you, Mike.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Adam, you're up.
Brian, thank you.
Good morning, Adam McKinney, Emergency Communications this morning. Today I'm looking to get signatures on the IPSCC Enhanced Grant Fund applications. I noticed in here, I included the quotes, and I noticed that the Secretary did peg those for signature. I don't need the quotes signed. If we sign those, that's authorizing them to purchase that. We don't want to do that. We only want to sign the grant application, which is the section H on each of those. Yeah, we don't want the quotes themselves signed where she's got those marked out, because we don't want to authorize purchase until these grants are approved.
Section H.
So just section H there.
Okay.
There are 3 of them, one for each PSAP, but they're under our umbrella. That's why you guys get to sign for them each. But we did collect the information from each of the PSAPs. So this is for the, we're going to use these for Equiture this year, which is the recording software for 911.
Questions?
This IPSCC grant, that's that, we just joined that.
Yep.
Sorry.
Correct.
And this is a result of that.
Extra 25 cents. That's correct. Yep, that's right. That resolution we passed back in November
Yes.
brought us into this program, and this is our first go through with this, so.
Right. And what's your anticipation level for awarding it?
High. I've had multiple communications with IPSCC. They feel that we're in great status. This is a Tier 2 project. They rank these projects by Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. And, no, that's actually the page you don't want to sign.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
sign those quotes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just the section H on the
Oh, just
grant.
that one. I'll
Yes,
read that one.
please.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
those quotes, once the grant's been awarded, I'll come back and have you sign for the quote so we can purchase that here. So. But yeah, this is a Tier 2 project, so second priority, I think we're going to be in. So.
Will you submit those grant applications to UCC, Michelle?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I was just made aware that the process to go through Michelle, I had not been aware of that before, so I'll make sure that when we do this in the future, or any other grants we loop her in, I didn't realize that there was an official grant project procedure, so we'll get that.
And there's a 4-page form to fill out.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, I'm all right with that.
It's in 6-point font.
So, well, these were 5 or 6 pages each anyway, so.
Yeah, that's not yet.
Cool.
All right.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Do we need a
Did
motion?
Oh,
do
yep, we need a motion
that?
on- no, we need a motion on that.
Okay.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Chair,
we
I
have
make a
some.
motion that we authorize signature on the grant application for the IPSCC grant application.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right,
very much.
you. All right, Christie.
Okay. Krista Clauser, Bannock County Comptroller. Financials are now officially finished. As of Thursday last week, they are submitted to all of the parties. I just did that before the meeting. I'm waiting for Enterprise. Shanda's going to give me the contact information for them. Any time we have debt, we need to submit copies to them. So I'll get that done, then we are complete. These are online under the auditor's website.
Cool.
We will be planning a exit conference with Whitfley, but I wanted to wait and see how your BOE schedule looked.
Don't come back until next week, or 2 weeks.
Well, I didn't know if we were looking at the week of the 11th, or if by some crazy chance we could do before that. So what I'll do is just have Teresa communicate.
Like 200 yesterday.
That's what I heard. So now I know we're going to wait until the week of the 11th,
Yeah, yes, please.
which is...
I mean, if you need to go faster than that, we could do
They're
that.
fine with
But
it.
it's just.
No, they're
yeah,
they're
okay.
absolutely fine with it. I just was putting that off, but I wanted you to know that this was submitted in because we beat the June 30 deadline, which we will never get that close again.
Are you gonna relax now a little bit?
No, I can work on
No,
budget.
you should have seen her stack.
So anyways, these are online. I'll have Christy and Teresa talk on getting the next conference scheduled.
Okay.
No huge surprises.
Thank you.
It's pretty straightforward.
Good job.
But now it's official because you guys know it's there.
All right, thank you. All right, Hal.
Were you having fun yet today?
Good job, Tristan.
Al Jensen, Planning Director, Bannock County. With me, Tristan Borkman, Assistant Planner. You have before you, and actually Tristan has the originals that will need to be signed. We were doing some homework internally in the office, and we pulled up some bylaws that a previous council had put together. We were trying to find some particular information in those bylaws. Through our research, we found out that those bylaws had never been presented to the commission for approval. And so that gave us the opportunity to go to the new council. And we reviewed those bylaws and asked for any additional input from the new council on what should be incorporated and what should be deleted. And so we had a work session. Then Tristan very diligently put all of the bylaws together with some other items. And we have before you, after having approval from the council at last meeting, these bylaws in front of the commission for signature. Tristan, did I leave anything out?
I read through them and I noticed a couple of things had changed, a few, but I didn't have any concerns with them.
So I had one question. Who can remove a member of the board for conduct? Now it says for absentees, but not for conduct.
I thought there was in there that the commissioners could.
It says it for absentees, and I found it last night when I was reading, but typically you have this in, it says if you're absent, then the Board of Bannock County Commissioners may recommend removal of said person.
Commissioner Tevye, just so that you know, conduct was not in the previous bylaws. So if you would like us to take that back and add that, we can do so.
I was just, as I looked at this, and when I say conduct unbecoming is a very wide variety of things, but there have been people on boards, planning and zoning boards in the state, due to just their inability for whatever reason, they want to do things that may or may not be appropriate for the way they speak to the public, or the way they speak to staff, the way they speak to other people that way, the way that they approve or disapprove items that come forward. They are doing it out of malicious intent or personal gain. And so that's why I say, as I looked through that, I was just kind of curious on that. There's not a conduct measure that says, conduct unbecoming, you may be removed from the board by, you will be removed by the Board of County Commissioners then. The board may, upon recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Director, you may be removed from the board. Because that's something that I don't know how we would get rid of somebody if there was a misconduct due to creating a hostile work environment or a harassment action or something like that. I mean, I think that we could fire them, but I can't find in code where it specifically says, it says we can appoint, and it's always implied that the appoint, but I mean, I don't know, am I?
Well, and I think that paragraph is almost verbatim from the ordinance too. So the ordinance doesn't say anything about
And that's what I'm
conduct
saying,
either.
and as we've ran into these things, and I have the HR director, I see his ears perked up once I said this, is all of these boards, they're not employees. So they're not held to the employee handbook. Are they?
No.
Okay, so we need to have probably some kind of conduct clause in there that just says, if you want to make somebody's life miserable because you're being ignorant and rude and you're doing things that are not acceptable of the employee, and you could even say conduct that is not acceptable under the employee handbook, or conduct that would be damaging to the county. That's it.
Volunteers are addressed in the handbook, the personnel policy. They may apply under that.
Yeah, but their conduct section is not there. It talks.
If we revised it in
Well, and that's
personnel policy to include volunteers, then it might.
it
might give you what you need.
Yeah,
Or you could just address it.
and that was just something I was thinking about because I talked to some people.
Well, I'd throw it in here. I mean, it's simple enough to throw it in here.
Because then they know in their rules, you want to say this, you don't have to
even.
even go find something. If you do something that is inappropriate to benefit yourself, to benefit a family member, or something that you're knowingly making a decision to benefit somebody, you're creating a hostile, harassing workplace.
I could give you a paragraph.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, I would prefer to have that in their bylaws, because then they know, these are your, I mean.
And then let's go a step further and let's talk about that on volunteers and
And
stuff.
put it in the
Put it in the
handbook.
handbook.
Yeah,
Volunteers or county boards.
Volunteers can, yeah, I mean, that's,
I mean,
sorry to throw a wrench in your works,
No,
but I just was reading this and I was like,
That's a good wrench, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just,
well, there's more than this board that we need to.
yeah,
look
that's
at.
kind of what I was thinking. It's just not your board, it's, all boards should have, well, and,
Escape clause.
well, do we have bylaws though for all of our boards right now? And sorry, this is just, I mean, this is a board's discussion, but I mean, and it's not agendized, but we probably should make sure bylaws for planning and zoning, fair board, snowmobile board.
No grooming.
Yep.
I mean, all of them need to have that bylaw where if you do something that is not, that you're doing something you shouldn't,
Thanks for opening a can of worms, Tristan.
sorry.
You do bring up a good point, because there have been conversations about previous council members that were, shall we say, in the past problematic. And, there was a great relief when particular board members have been gone
Well,
and replaced.
and you can
et cetera.
tell
So,
when a decision is not
Yes.
being made, and I'm not saying you're trying to influence a decision, you don't want to influence a decision, but when people are doing things that their only justification is I just don't like that, and it's obvious that it's going to be a financial benefit to them or another family member or a friend, that's not acceptable. And that's where we need to be able to have that conversation with them, so.
okay, well, Tristan, will you retrieve those, and we will
I mean,
Ryan will get you a
go back to work.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can work on that today.
and as fast as we could get that paragraph in, I'd say we just reschedule this for Thursday then, and then we could sign it, and then we'll just go back to the board, and they can,
Be for signature at that
yep.
point in time.
Perfect.
Board would just have reconciliation as all it is, it's approval by signature, and it's done.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, good work.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
No, you're good, thanks.
Can't leave yet.
Oh,
Are you done, or are you going into recess?
Let's see, we got a couple more.
If you guys want to hang out for
Do you
just a
need
second.
I was just going to tell Commissioner Huff that staff will have iCrimp done this week.
If you'll hang out though, Hal,
Commissioner Huff, did you
I
get
got
it
a
done
quick
yet?
thing that I
Yes,
got.
I did.
Attaboy.
Yes, I did. That day.
Me too.
All right,
Control.
resolutions. Resolution number 2022-44.
Hold on, there's one of them. I'm gonna harass some people here in a second. All right, no, go ahead, that one's fine.
This is burn ban on open fires. Resolution number 2022-48, tax cancellation requests. Resolution 2022-49, the matter of authorization to dispose of surplus asset and property. Resolution 2022-51, rescinding resolution number 2022-53, 2242.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the resolution 2022-51 be separated from the question as there is a misspelling of this commissioner's name in there. I'm just saying, you don't get that one right.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I move that all resolutions besides 2022-51 be approved at this time.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that resolution 2022-51 be amended to reflect the proper spelling of this commissioner's name and be returned for signature at its earliest convenience.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm not a football player. I'm a Welsh guy. 1 out. So Welch Festival was this last weekend in Malad, and I've had like 6 messages and BOE and everybody, I didn't know I was related to you. Well, we've lived here for 150 years, so yeah, we're probably related.
Next on the agenda, we have letters and public hearing notice. The letter is cancellation of taxes from the assessor's office. And both of them were for the homeowner's exemption.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the letters and,
I had a question on this one though.
oh, that's the landfill fees.
Is this, did we get everybody's fees in? I mean,
No.
why are we having a public hearing for just this
This
select
is the,
group
this is
then?
to hurry up and fix the problem with the tires,
Yes.
because they're losing money on it right now.
Yeah, this is,
They're getting,
Okay.
they're getting destroyed on their budget.
And then there is some
Yes.
parcel combinations and,
Because we had those fees already,
Oh.
might as well do 2 rather than just 1.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then, when I talked to Braden, he thought the only other fees that really were gonna be adjusted might be a little bit of cleanup from the cow possibly, but mostly, event center wellness complex.
that's what I was wondering. Motion then?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the public hearing notice as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did we do the letters?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the letters.
Of cancellation? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought, yeah, I approve. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the letters of cancellation as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. There we go.
I wasn't sure.
That's one
I'll
of those
start
things.
talking, so. Then we have Board of Bannock County Commissioners minutes for June 21st, 22nd, 23rd.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 With that being said, we'll be